Hey, Shalom YouTube. This is Brother Richard from Ozarks Altruistic, and I'm coming to you today to talk to you about an important subject. One specific important subject, which would be what we call Yom Teruah, or the Day of Blowing. Okay, it's also called the Day of Trumpets, and some call it, albeit mistakenly, they call it the Feast of Trumpets because it's not actually listed as a feast. Okay, but still, there's no harm, no foul, because that's not a big deal, right? Okay, so we're commanded to actually keep this day. We're to keep it holy, and we are to do no servile work on this specific day. And hey, I just mentioned some of the actual names for it. So, and I told you, hey, no servile work, but check this out. There's another name for it. It's called the Day That No Man Knows the Hour. It sounds familiar. So, there's an actual high holy day written of in the scriptures, specifically, and I'm looking over here, you can tell, Leviticus 23. We're going to get all Levitical in here. Okay, Leviticus 23, let's go to verse 24 and verse 25, and that's because that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th new moon, which means a month, on the first day of the new moon, you have a rest, a remembrance of Teruah, or blowing a horn, right? A set-apart gathering. You do no servile work. And you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. From what I understand, we can certainly cook, and you should check that out for yourself. And don't listen to me on this. Look at Leviticus 23 and also get other opinions, okay? But the thing of it all is it is called the day that no man knows the hour, and we are to be what? We're to be watching. We're to be watching for what? Well, from what I understand, we're to be watching for a glimmer of light. We're to be watching. The word shamar is listed in that in the Hebrew in that particular description of what we're to be doing. Okay, and so shamar means to actually spot, to look, to see something, to narrowly see something. So it's talking about the moon's first light. Okay, so we're to be looking for the light. Okay. We're to be looking for the light of the world. We're to be looking for the light, the first moon's light, okay? And when that happens, back in history, our forefathers, one would be looking on from one side of Jerusalem, or Yerushalayim. The other one would be looking for from the other side of Yerushalayim. And when they both saw it, they would go to the Sanhedrin, and they would tell them, and that would be two witnesses that did this, and then the shofars would sound, and then the feast/celebration would start. Okay? So, it sounds extremely familiar. If you're looking up the day that no man knows the hour, or if you're thinking about this because you've studied Scripture like you should, you can recall somewhere in the renewed covenant, and you should look that up, that when is the Messiah going to return? No man knows the day or the hour. That's a reference right there. So these are high holy days that are actually listed in the scriptures. And this is a first high holy day of the fall. Okay, so these are the fall feasts. These are also called the latter days, the latter feasts. Okay, the former feasts, or the spring feasts, based on what the former rain and the latter rain, which is talking about the agricultural cycle. Like the spring is when the Passover is. Passover, unleavened bread, and then first fruits. So there's three: death, burial, resurrection. Okay? So we end up with the death on Passover, the burial, 3 days and 3 nights, or it's not the Messiah, and then the resurrection. So anyone telling you that there's a freaking 36-hour turnover on the Messiah coming out of the grave, then they don't know what they're talking about because they don't read the scriptures. So I would say the Passover is definitely the time that our Messiah went through the death, burial, and resurrection. And then further on, those were 3, okay, because I told you there's 7. Woohoo, 7. Those were 3. And then in the summer, there's called Pentecost, or what we call, Shavuot. And what is that? That is a time period whenever Moses actually gave the Torah to the children of Israel, our forefathers, okay? Gave it to them as a gift because they were free from slavery. So as they were released from Egypt and away from slavery, then they were given the gift of freedom. The gift of freedom is what? How to treat your neighbor, how to love your Father with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and how to treat your neighbor as yourself. So basically the commandments were given at the foot of the mountain as a loving instruction so that we were no longer in Egypt in slavery. Okay, you feel what I'm saying? Sin is slavery. Sin is breaking the Torah. We were given the set of instructions on the fourth high holy day. Man, these things sound like they're pretty important to me, okay? So let's move on. So that was the spring. Here's the summer. Let's get to the fall. So the very first day of the 7th month starts the fall feasts. Everyone right now can tell it's turning fall. It feels really good outside, at least where I'm at today. Hope the same for you guys. But the first day of the 7th month, we are to be watching. We are to be watchmen on the wall. We are to be watching for the Messiah. I believe he's going to return on the Feast of Trumpets. These things are going to be fulfilled. He actually came and he fulfilled and did. He did something completely in wholeness. He did what the Passover was all about. It was never about bulls and goats, the blood of bulls and goats. It was always about the Son of the Father. Okay, the Father actually sacrificing and giving His one and only Son, up to the earth so that He could come here and teach us the Scriptures, teach us the Torah, and then die in our place if in fact we believe that He is the Messiah, and He absolutely is. Another thing that we talk about around this time of year is called the Akedah. Okay, the Akedah means the binding of Isaac. Okay, so Abraham, he took Yitzchak or Isaac up to the top of a mountain. All right, and so because he was told to, and he was told to actually sacrifice his son. So right about the time, now here's another thing. Yitzchak wasn't no little bitty boy either. So people thought that he was, but in all actuality, if you look at the Scriptures, there's some proof that he wasn't, and he was carrying his own wood. Okay, he was carrying his own wood up this hill. Okay, pretty good sized young man, most probably about the same age as our Messiah whenever he actually died. Okay, there's that. That was like the 30s. So if that is actually something that's comparable, then he was in his 30s, and he could have easily fought Abraham and not done this. So people are like, oh, Abraham, and I'm telling you, that was an amazing sacrifice and heart-wrenching thing for Abraham. But how heart-wrenching and it could have been for Yitzchak, okay? But that's not just the only thought process. The thought process is that how faithful was Abraham to be doing this? How much more faithful was Yitzchak to be participating? So these are our forefathers. And so that's what happened. That was like a shadow of things to come. So we know, and I do know, and you should know, that the story of it all is that now that there was a ram caught in the thorns. Thorns. A ram caught in the thorns. And the Father provided a Passover ram for that situation. Okay? And what happened is that's what happened up there. The angel, the messenger of Yahuwah, a messenger of Yahuwah, told him to stop. Do not kill Yitzchak. And so that he stopped. He didn't kill Yitzchak. So that instead they sacrificed this ram in his place. The ram, the lamb of Elohim. You would say G-O-D. I don't say that because that's not a proper title. But Elohim means my mighty one. Okay. So anyway, so the Father provided a ram that was caught in the thorns. I believe the Messiah had a crown of thorns on his head. I believe he is also called the Lamb of Elohim. Okay. You would say the Lamb of G-O-D. And he was sacrificed in our place willingly is what he did. Okay. So the Father did something himself that he wouldn't make us do. He didn't make us go to that level to actually to lose the one we love to that degree. I mean, that would have been, but both of them had the, Abraham and Yitzchak, they had the faith to do this thing because, Yitzchak is the promised seed. And Abraham's like, hey, Father can raise him back up. I could do this. I don't know what he thought, but I would have to be thinking that because there's nothing else I could be thinking. So anyway, so this situation has a ram that had horns, okay? And so what happens on the Feast of Trumpets, it's also kind of a reminder. It's a reminder of what we call the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. But if we're reminded of the binding of Isaac, we're also reminded of the sacrifice of Messiah, which I told you was actually in the spring, Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, death, burial, resurrection. So this whole cyclical thing, because this is a high holy day cycle, it goes over the course of 7 months. That's all. It's a 7-month annual cycle for the high holy days. We are in the very end of it right now. And the ram horn being blown, I would have to say it's a remembrance of the Passover lamb. I know that it is. It's also a remembrance of what Yitzchak went through with Abraham, okay? And there's other instances that we can look that there was a ram's horn blown or a trumpet blown, and it completely decimated the enemy. And we know that that the sacrifice that Messiah went through completely decimated the enemy. And we know his return, which is what we're talking about right now, the Feast of Trumpets / the Day of Blowing, okay? The Day of Trumpets is what is going to completely bring finality to the enemy, okay? So I would challenge you, please, please go and look at this and learn about what this is. It's something that's going to enrich your life, okay? The high holy days, the actual biblical scriptural high holy days, as opposed to all that trash that everybody else calls holy days, holidays, holiday. I think today is actually called, what is it, Labor Day? And it's a holiday. Come on, man. All right, so let's get all scriptural. Let's get Levitical. Let's go Leviticus 23, and you guys look at 24 and 25, and then download the eSword. Download the eSword and do a search on these words. Okay. I encourage you to do that. I love you guys. I'm glad to see you again. There's going to be more videos put out. Right now, I have a lot of things going on in my life. Me and Sister Nicole and I have a lot of things going on. And you're going to be involved in them, which is really freaking cool. I miss you guys, and I'm glad to see you right now. I will be looking for the sliver, and it goes over a 48-hour period. Therefore, no one knows the day or the hour. Okay, you have to look, and when you see the sliver, bam, we are to be looking for Messiah. We are to be narrowly looking for that light to come back. And by the time he does come back, we are in the midst of the tribulation. The tribulation, towards the end of the tribulation, actually. I don't want to mess that up. The rest of this tribulation period is not going to be for the house of Yisrael or the believing individuals that keep the Torah and have the testimony of Messiah. That's in Revelation 12:17, by the way. And that is the remnant. We are the remnant. Okay, never forget that. Be the remnant. Okay, be who you're supposed to be. So after that, that is actually one of the first days of 10 days in a row. It's called the 10 days of awe. And you can look that up and find out that all of the curses that were brought on Egypt to make the Pharaoh let our people go back then basically are being once again put on the people of this world, which is by and large Egypt. It's a sinful place, okay? And so he's going to make Satan let everybody go. He's definitely going to do that. He's going to come back, and he's going to, whenever he does return on this day, we're going to be brought up in the air. Those that are not with him already coming back, we're going to be brought up in the air. The word is ruach, okay? So we're going to be brought up in the spirit. We're going to be given a new spiritual body. Those that keep the Torah, testimony of Yahushua and have keep the Torah at the same time. So we're going to be given new bodies, and we're going to come back down here, and we're going to be with him for 1,000 years as he teaches the Torah to everyone for 1,000 years that made it through this tribulation, that didn't end up going into the kingdom with him right then and there. Basically, I say the kingdom, going into the new bodies at that point. Okay. So that's a lot of stuff to say, and we could have conversations on it. And hey, you know what? If you want to talk about it, go ahead and shoot me a few messages or whatever down there. And I might have flubbed some of this up, and I am not going to go over and try to correct it right now, because I've got a 15-minute video going, and I could probably correct myself later on. I might well do that in the comments. Some of it I might have got a little bit out of whack. I know I talked about the tribulation. I will say this much, that after those days, Messiah returns after the tribulation of Yaakov, of Jacob, okay, Jacob's trouble. And then the trouble is going to be pretty much pushed and put on the people that tried to crush us. Okay, they're not going to be able to do it. Also, I want to encourage you to do something else. I would like for you to read Psalms 27, because right now I'm doing that until what we call the Day of Atonement. Some do it only to the Feast of Trumpets. I do it to the Day of Atonement. I might well read that for you right now, just to show you how freaking awesome it is, because the word of Yahuwah is awesome. Okay, but let me do the boom, 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 boom. All right, so I like this little Bible app, the scriptural app that I have on my phone. It's called, it's not eSword, because they won't let me have that on mine. Oh, Mama said, I'm sorry, Sister Nicole said it's My Sword. So My Sword, I am going to, you should download My Sword, by the way. Do that, and you will be very happy that you did. Then you can look at all this cool stuff with me. So let's go to Psalms 27, verse 1. Yahuwah is my light and my deliverance. Look that up in the Hebrew. See what that word means. Whom should I fear? Yahuwah is my refuge of my life. Whom should I dread? Nobody. When evildoers come against me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and my enemies, they shall stumble and fall. Though an army encamps against me, my heart does not fear. Though battle comes up against me, even then I would be trusting. We have faith. One matter I asked of Yahuwah, this I seek, to dwell in the house of Yahuwah all the days of my life, to see the pleasantness of Yahuwah and to acquire in his Hekal, which is his temple, which is amazing, the thought process. For in the day of evil he hides me in his booth, or in his tabernacle. You might want to see what the Feast of Tabernacles is about. In the covering of his tent he hides me. On a rock he raises me up. And now my head is lifted up above my enemies all around me. And I slaughter in his tent with slaughterings of sounding. I sing, yes, I sing praises to Yahuwah. Praise Yahuwah, Yahushua. Hear, O Yahuwah, when I cry with my voice, and show me favor, and answer me. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in displeasure. You have been my help. Do not leave me nor forsake me, O Elohim of my deliverance. Teach me. Okay, I'm sorry. When my father and my mother have forsaken me, when my father and my mother have forsaken me, then Yahuwah does take me in. Teach me your way, O Yahuwah, and lead me in a smooth path because of my enemies. Do not give me over to the desire of my adversaries, for false witnesses have risen up against me. A false witness. And they breathe out cruelty to me. What if I had not believed to see the goodness of Yahuwah in the land of the living? Wait on Yahuwah. Be strong. And let him strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on Yahuwah. Psalms 27. Amazing and more amazing. So anyway, it's good to talk to you guys again. I love you, and I hope that you enjoyed this. Like I say, I probably will have butchered some of it, a small amount. And so I'm going to go ahead and maybe make a few corrections. Maybe somebody will help me with that. Usually someone does. But good to go. I'm good with that. So anyway, you guys enjoy your time. Look up Yom Teruah. Be looking for the sliver of this renewed moon. You don't necessarily have to know everything that you're doing, okay? But after you see the sliver, what I would suggest is you don't, if you can keep from doing it, do not go to actual work that night or the next day until night. So it goes from sundown to sundown. So it's a 24-hour period. And in that period, pray. Pray hard. Matter of fact, if you want me to pray for you, then please also send me some sort of a message in the comments, okay? I would love to pray for you. I would love to pray with you. Those are the things that I enjoy doing, okay? So, once again, I love you guys. Try to keep the feast, okay? And ask the Father to reveal His Word to you. That is a prayer to pray, okay? All right, take care. All right, shalom.